Hi, everybody. I hope everybody's having a good day so far. So, today we're going to cover how to roll your budget book forward. Now, these steps that we're going to be working on today will apply to most of you, but I will point out for any brand new clients, you will have an additional step that you'll have to do to roll your budget book forward. I'm John Evian. I'm a training specialist here at Gravity, and we have Nick Langlois who will be operating the chat. If you have any questions during the presentation at all, please feel free to either use the chat or the Q&A feature in Wistia to submit any questions. With that, I'm going to start sharing my screen, and we are going to learn how to roll our budget books forward. So thank you very much once again for joining us, and we're going to guide you along the step on how to continue using Gravity successfully and make sure that your budget book rather, rolls forward every year. Now, this call will be recorded, and you will get a link to both a YouTube link and also here on Wistia to view this webinar again if you want to use this webinar again. But you're also going to receive a checklist on exactly how to roll your budget book forward. So without further ado, let's get started. Now, for those of you who also have an Act for with Gravity and attended our Act for Roll Forward, you're going to know the very first step of rolling your report forward is backing up your report. What we want to do with backing up our report is creating an immutable version of last year's budget book before uploading new data and getting everything finalized. Now, to do that, I'm going to hop into our webinar report here. Backing up your report is very easy. All we have to do is click on the three dots at the top level folder, click on Report Operations, and then create backup. We're going to assign a workflow to the backup. And once we've done that, we're going to click OK. In the top right, we're going to see that it says that the backup task has been accepted. And if we hover over the notification center, we'll be able to track the progress of our budget book backup. For most of your budget books, this process can take up to an hour, so I would highly recommend backing up your budget book either over lunch at the end of the day. You're going to want to make sure that the budget book completely backs up before continuing with the rest of the process. Our next step after backing up our report is creating a new fiscal period for our report. This is done so that we show when we're moving to. Now, depending on how you're utilizing this budget book, you may have an adopted and a proposed book that you publish through Gravity. And if so, you might want to create both fiscal periods at this point. But for the purposes of this webinar, I'm going to show you how to create a fiscal period based on the fact that this is an annual budget book that comes out. Going back to Gravity, what we're going to do is to create a new fiscal period for our report. We're going to click on the gear icon in the top right-hand corner of Gravity and then select Dimensions. In Dimensions, we're going to see the various dates that we can roll forward to. So we see here, we have our 2025 12/31 date for our fiscal year. Now, let's say we wanted to show that we're actually going to present 2026's fiscal year end. So I'm going to go here, and we want to enter in 2026 12/31. I'm going to click on this blue plus sign in the bottom right-hand corner of this window. In this menu, we can either type out the date according to this format or conveniently click on this calendar. Clicking on the year, move to 2026, select December, select the date we want to save to. Once we've selected our new fiscal period that we're going to roll to, we're going to click Save. This will automatically add this new fiscal period to Gravity for you to be able to roll your budget book to 2026. Just a reminder, if there's any questions, feel free at any point to type in the Q&A or in the chat to have your questions answered by Nick Langlois. This next step is only for brand new budget book clients. So if you've only recently had your budget book implemented by Gravity, you're going to want to create a new fiscal period inside of the MDFM. What this means is that all of your automated tables will need to be told that they can now roll to the next year. So to do this, we're going to go back to Gravity. We have to access the MDFM by clicking on Data and the blue ribbon of Gravity, Multidimensional Financial Model. Here, we're going to enter the folder called Administration and then Dimensions. We're then going to go to Global Periods. It will either be called Global Periods or Budget Periods, depending on how your environment's set up. And then we're going to click on this pencil icon beside the Periods tab. Here we see that there's already a lot of periods added to Gravity right now. This is great. You can, of course, at any point, if you are utilizing this functionality to roll your budget book forward, you can add an infinite amount of periods so that you never have to enter this menu again. But for the purposes of this webinar, I'm going to show you now, if we wanted to add 2029, how we would go about doing this. In the top right of this menu, we're going to see a plus sign that says Add Row. Clicking on this plus sign, a new row will appear here in the Periods table. I'm going to want to type 2029 here, then go to the code and click 2029 here. Once we've entered in both the name and the code, we can click on the Save button here. And now our 2029, we've seen, has gone down to the bottom of the table here. If this is an important thing to remember, if you see that the most recent year is at the top of your table here, you're going to want to click and drag 2029 all the way up to the top by grabbing the 6 dots and dragging it all the way up to the top. This is necessary in order to keep the automation of Gravity working properly. Once again, not all of you will have to do this step. It's only if your budget book's been implemented in the last year. The next thing we're going to want to do in this step is, if you're using the MDFM, in particular, creating a new fiscal period inside of the MDFM, we're going to want to lock the previous periods. Why we're doing this is to make sure that we can't accidentally input any information to past fiscal years without updating a correction. To do this, we're going to stay in this menu of Gravity. And for the purposes of this demo today, we're going to be rolling from 2024 to 2025. So 2024 is the fiscal year we were reporting on last. We're going to want to lock this so we can't make any adjustments to it. We're going to click here on Edit. And then here where we see this checkmark box underneath Locked, we're going to click here. Once there's a check mark here, we're going to go over and save. This is going to lock of the last fiscal period to make sure that we cannot make any changes to it unless we open it back up and then enter in the new information. This is a security precaution to make sure you don't accidentally mess up your last year's budgetary info. After we've locked the previous period, you are going to want to create or add new funds depending on how you're depending on how you're uploading this. This will either be done through uploading your data through data integration services. So some of you, as part of your budgeting process, will have an upload data integration services that will say something along the lines of funds upload, accounts upload, perhaps function upload, object upload. If you maintain your data structure or you upload new departments funds through this process, you'll have to do it through data integration services. But if you're using the MDFM to manage this, you're going to have to use the dimensions menu where we just were to add new funds or departments so that they can be represented in the budget book. This is only necessary, of course, if you are adding new departments or funds. Since this won't happen year to year, we'll move on to the next step and talk about uploading new budget book data using data integration services. Now, there are a couple ways that you may be uploading data using using data integration services. You may be uploading all of your budgetary information. You may only be uploading historical information. But what remains the fact is you will always use data integration services to upload certain data to Gravity. If you are using the O&M templates, the operational templates, the CIP templates, or the HR templates, you're going to want to finalize some of that information before we can roll forward as part of the next step. This also encompasses this uploading new budget data to Gravity. After you've uploaded all new budget data to Gravity using data integration services and any new data using the budgeting templates, we're going to want to use a data set refresh. This is, in my opinion, a best practice that you could do every single day using your budget book, but it is especially necessary to do this when rolling your budget book forward. So I'm going to hop in here, and inside of the MDFM, if I were to click on data sets and open up budget, we're going to see here that there are a series of rows that have a refresh sign on them. By clicking on these refresh buttons, we're allowing the new fiscal year's information to actually flow into the budget book. This has to be done in order to roll forward properly. Seeing that we have uploaded this new data here and that we've refreshed these data sets, we can now start to move forward. But it's really important to remember that if you go to administration data sets within the MDFM, you can always refresh and load the newest data into the MDFM by clicking on these refresh buttons. After we've completed all of this, we have done all of the work necessary to begin rolling our report forward. To start rolling our report forward, and this next step applies only to clients who are brand new to Gravity, we're going to go to the MDFM by clicking on Data, Multidimensional Financial Model, and in Administration, we're going to see a button here that will say Roll Forward. I'm seeing in the chat that some people are unable to hear. I'm assuming everybody except certain people are unable to hear. I'm going to assume, Stephanie, you've been talking. Can you hear what's going on? Stephanie, if you could just let Nick Langwa know in the chat, just to make sure my screen is sharing properly. Just going, okay, Jay's having a problem with that. Okay, so Stephanie can hear. I'm assuming everybody else who's in the webinar right now can hear. Jay, you will get, Nick, if you could let Jay know that we will be sending out a recording of this and he can connect with us anytime. That'd be great. Thank you very much. Thanks, Kristen. So back to what I was talking about. This next step is only going to apply to brand new clients to Gravity using a budget book. If you've had your budget book for a little over 8 months to a year, you're not going to have to use this step. We're going to roll the MDFM forward, which means we're going to copy the rules from 2020. Remember our example is moving from 2024 to 2025. We're going to copy the rules from 2024 to 2025. Now to do this, we're going to enter the MDFM administration, roll forward. If you are using have an ACFR, you might see an ACFR here in this menu, but we're going to select the budget book here. So you're going to go to roll forward, select budget book, and then click validate. Click next in this option here. Then we're going to select which year we're rolling from. So in this case, it was 24 to 25. And if you see this period of formula from, it will say here what the year is. So it says here 2023. And so we're going to select the next year, 2024. If in the rare instance that you are using Gravity to make journal entries to your budget book, and you want to copy these journal entries from 24 to 25, you can check this box here, rollover adjustments, to bring those journal entries unposted to the next fiscal year. But since this is a rare occurrence, we're going to leave this blank for now. So once we've selected the year that we're rolling from to the year we're rolling to, and if this is the same thing for both this menu up here and the period of formula, after we've selected the correct fiscal periods, we can click execute. After this, it will tell us the rollover has been completed successfully, and all of our data will now be ready to roll forward and to the next year and roll our report forward. After completing this, if you want to update your pivot views inside of Gravity, you're going to want to do this now, primarily because our pivot views do not move forward after rolling the MDFM forward. I'm going to demonstrate quickly, if you are using the pivot views inside of Gravity, how to roll this forward. So going back to the MDFM, I'm going to enter the hypercubes. Here, if I had, I guess this table is named wrong, my apologies. If we were to go to our pivot menus, and we're going to have to do this for every single statement here, we're going to right click on the table that we want to roll forward, click on show field chooser, select the period, and move it from 2024 to 2025, click OK, then right click, view, and save. This will roll that table forward so that whatever data populates in here will now be correctly displayed. After we have updated our pivot views, we can now get to rolling the report forward. Just a reminder, if you have any questions whatsoever, please let Nick Langua know in the chat and he'll be able to help you out. After we've completed all these steps, we're able to roll our budget book forward. So I'm going to open up the report tree here. To start rolling our report forward, I'm just first going to check up here, and I'm going to see that our backup of our report has been completed. This is important so that we have an immutable copy in case anything goes wrong during the roll forward process. After our report has been backed up and we've completed all of the steps, in the top level report folder, click on the three dots up here, then go to report operations, and then roll forward. Once we've gotten to this menu, we're now going to select the fiscal period that we are going to want to roll to. So we're rolling from 24 to 25. And if you are printing an adopted and a proposed book with Gravity, you're going to want to change the label here. What this label does is it changes what is going to be printed. After you've updated the period and the label, click Next in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen here. You will not be using a click, so click Next. You may see that you have hypercubes for hypercube imports. If this is the case, you'll be a new client. And what you're going to want to do is look and see what the current period is and select the next period to roll forward to. So all of our 2024 tables are going to roll to 25. Our 2023 tables will roll to 24. After this, You may have to do the exact same thing with the MDFM datasets tables. It will be a very similar menu where it will say what the current year is and roll to the next year. After you've done this for both the MDFM hypercube periods and the MDFM datasets periods, click Next. And in the after we get to this menu, you're going to be told that your report is ready to be rolled forward. We can click Finish in the bottom right-hand corner of this menu here. After completing this, we will have started the process to roll forward your report. Once again, this process for your budget book could take anywhere up to an hour, so I'd really recommend doing this over lunch, at the end of the day, and please allot all the time to make sure that this roll forward procedure is finished before working in Gravity any further. You will be able to track the report roll forward process in the notification center up here. Of course, since this is a training report, it's rolled forward almost immediately. But as soon as you see this green check mark here, you will be able to continue working inside of your report. We can also track the roll forward process by clicking on the information icon here to see how this is working. After we've rolled our budget book forward, we're going to start updating the book itself to start displaying the most recent data. The very first thing that we're going to do is update the periods template. The periods template is going to be a necessary part of how all of our tables and all of our variables will know that it's the correct year. All of your reports will have an administration tab or a supporting documents tab that will have a file here called periods report or periods template. To change the period, we're going to go here to the periods report, double click, and we see here that somebody's already rolled it to 2025. But if it were the case that it was done to 2024, what we're going to want to do is type in our new fiscal period here in K4. And then if you have a new, if you're publishing a proposed and adopted book in Gravity, there will also be a budget cycle document here that will say proposed or adopted. Select the correct title. After you've selected the correct fiscal period and the correct budget cycle, click on the 3 lines up here besides periods report and click Submit. This is going to ensure that this data, this date, and this budget cycle will populate through the entirety of the report. This is a necessary step to do before moving forward. After we've updated the period template, we're going to want to refresh the MDFM imports. That being, making sure that our most recent data that we've already uploaded to Gravity using either our O&M templates or HR templates or CIP templates or data integration services populates into the budget book to get us ready to start reviewing our budget book. To do so, we're going to go back to Gravity and click on the 3 dots at the top level report folder. Click on Data, and then refresh MDFM imports. This process will take up to 5 minutes to refresh all of your MDFM imports that will be drawn in from the new data that you've uploaded. If you do not do this, your budget book will still technically show 2024 data, since we have to tell Gravity to refresh in order to bring in your next year's fiscal data. After we've refreshed the MDFM imports, it's important to refresh data store queries. This is a second way that your budgetary data is being brought into Gravity and automated correctly. This is a specific step to budget books in Gravity. To do this, in our report tree, we're going to click on the 3 dots at the top level report folder, click on Data, and then refresh data store queries. If there were any data store queries in this report, we're going to see up here that there is a check all box, check box right up here in the top left corner. Once we've done this, we click OK, and we're going to see that we are now going to refresh all of our data store queries, meaning that all of our information that has been linked through means other than the MDFM will now refresh. After we've done this, our last step before we start getting ready to prepare for next year's reporting cycle is refresh variables. Now that we've updated the MDFM report items, and we've also refreshed all the data store queries and updated the periods template, we will now be able to refresh our variables, ensuring automation through all of our report narratives. This step is one of the easiest things to do in Gravity. To refresh your variables, we're going to go back to Gravity, click on Data, Refresh Variables. It's only 2 steps. You click on Data in the blue ribbon of Gravity, and then click Refresh Variables. Once again, this process can take up to 5 minutes, but as soon as you do that, every single automated number in your report narratives will start to update. So any fiscal years will update, all of your budget cycles will change over, and any other automated number that you have in Gravity will start to update. Having completed updating the periods template, refreshing the MDFM imports, refreshing the data store queries, and refreshing the variables, the last step is to change the design template. To do this, we're going to click on the gear icon in the top right-hand corner of Gravity. And then we're going to see there's a templates option. Let's click on templates. Once again, you may have multiple templates, but what we want to do here is select budget template. This will populate all the styles, page templates, images that will be part of your budget book. But here we want to click on text variables. Once we've gotten to text variables, we're going to see that our current year is 2024 to 2025. And I'm going to want to click on Edit. And once we've clicked on that pencil icon, I'm going to change this 24 to 25 and this 25 to 26 and click Save. As well, if you are publishing a proposed book with Gravity, you're also going to want to change the header here where it says proposed from adopted budget to proposed budget, and then click Save. What we've done here is, of course, not change anything to do with the data shown in the report. Rather, when we print off the report to review, we now know that all of our dates will be properly inputted, as well as the proper budget cycle will be listed on the front cover, back covers, and all headers and footers. After we've changed the design template, we can begin our new reporting cycle. Now, this is where I can't guide you through it, since you're going to have to do your own reporting for your budget book. But having attended this webinar, you now have all the tools and have all the knowledge to begin rolling your budget book forward and continue using Gravity with success. So remember, we always want to start with backing up our report, creating these fiscal periods, and if you're a new client, do so in the MDFM and lock any prior periods, upload our budget data, and refresh those data sets. Once we've done all of that, we'll be able to roll the report forward, update any pivot views if needed, and once we've rolled the MDFM forward and the report forward, we can start managing the data, updating the periods template, refreshing the MDFM imports, the data store queries, and the variables. After we've done all of that, we can change the design template, and then the budget book is ready for you to start reporting in your new fiscal period. So that's everything that I have for you today, folks. We're more than happy to field some more questions that you will have. But one thing I would ask of you, if you have the time, you like this webinar, there's something you want us to address further, or any other comments about this webinar, please take the time to fill out our webinar survey that Nick will soon distribute the link, or you can utilize this QR code. I'll stay on the webinar a few minutes now to answer some questions if you folks have any. If you don't have any questions or any comments about the webinar, have a great rest of your day, and I hope you have continued success using Gravity. So, Ria, yes, Nick is completely correct. There's very few steps in this that you wouldn't have to do do for the ACFR. The ACFR is slightly different. We do have a video on YouTube that will highlight every single thing you're going to have to do to roll the ACFR forward, which will be on Gravity's YouTube channel. The recorded video, Jay, will be available, I'm hoping within an hour, maybe an hour and a half. We'll see how quickly Wistia decides to download our stuff. I'm just checking here. Are there any other questions that anybody would like clarification on? Thank you, Nick, for keeping an eye on the chat there. So if there are no more questions, I'm going to slowly sign off, but please feel free to fill out the webinar survey. We'd love to hear how you're liking the webinar. They're a fairly new initiative for us here at Gravity. We want to know if we're meeting your needs or if there's anything that can improve. As well, in that webinar survey, you can suggest topics for future webinars in the new year. And with that, and seeing no other questions, I'll be sending you folks out a follow-up email by the end of the day today, EST, with the recording, with the checklist, and any other information you're going to need to succeed using Gravity. So Melissa, does it matter which workflow? Generally, there will be a backup workflow, but in practice, not really. The workflow essentially prevents people who are not supposed to be able to see the backup from seeing the backup. That's the primary reason why we use a separate backup workflow. And picking the existing workflow would be perfectly fine, Melissa. I hope that helps. If there's any other questions, I'm willing to stay on a couple more minutes to help everybody out. But if not, please feel free to fill out the webinar survey that Nick posted or use that QR code. You're very welcome. If there's any other questions, feel free to ask. Otherwise, I'll sign off here. Thank you, everybody, for attending. I hope you enjoyed this webinar, and we will see each other in the new year. Have a great holiday season. Bye.